All right, so the inaugural, I guess this would be the first real podcast of like hopefully every Wednesday being able to have somebody new on. Hopefully I'll be the one on it every week. So I'm Dalton Barry. I'm one of the throwing trainers here at Driveline, Arizona.
Pitching trainer.
Pitching trainer. I don't like seeing pitching training. You know, it's funny because it's like I want to be known as a thrower. You know what I mean? I can train all sorts of guys I can throw.
That's the OG Driveline in you.
Saying throwing trainer
Yeah.
instead of pitching trainer.
Throwing trainer, and then I think at some point there was a shift towards like, oh no, we're pitching trainers.
Guys. That's right.
You know.
That's right. So, yeah. So hopefully this will be a weekly podcast now. Like I said, we're going to be going through having new guests on every week. This week we have our Arizona pitching coordinator, Dylan Gargas. Absolutely wonderful to have him in here. Appreciate you joining.
Yeah, what's the name of the show, by the way?
I don't know yet. Maybe that would be a great thing to ask for the folks that that are watching. If you guys have any recommendations of things that you guys would think would be a good name for it, it seems like something in the desert. We're looking at like
desert dogs, desert
dogs,
dudes. That's assuming it's specific to this Arizona facility, but
it will be. It will be. From my understanding, it'll be. I'll be able to rotate guys in and having different guests in, and hopefully keeping it in the Arizona facility. So
get Katie, get Devin Booker on the show.
I mean, if we had some good stuff. I mean, I did wear my son's stuff. Big fan, obviously. Katie, if you're watching, please feel free to get in here. We'd love to have you. So we're going to try and keep it not going to be like a super educational, being like super in-depth. We typically are going to have our R&D podcast guys go after that, but just kind of want to talk about anything that's been happening in the baseball world or anything that kind of comes to your mind or things that have been happening in the gym, any training things that we've been going through. So one thing that I wanted to talk about was just like opening weekend. That sweet smell of that grass.
Sweet smell of the grass, sweet crack of the bat. Man, it's good to be back.
It's good to be back. That's
smell,
right.
Yeah, smell that green grass, sweet crack of the bat. Man, it's good to be back.
That's right. So what were some things that kind of stood out to you over the opening weekend or things that happened that you were like, damn, that was really cool? Obviously, I think I know one thing we'll probably talk about a little bit, but anything stand out to you?
Yeah, of course, everyone's talking about torpedo bats. I don't really want to get into it. We'll let Andrew Ite and Jack Lambert let those guys cover it. I think there's a piece of content out there that is very informative, and you should go watch that.
Yes.
But that's been the talk of opening weekend. I'd say as far as like watching baseball, I am a fan of the game and specifically players that train with us. So naturally, that's what I'm most locked in on are the guys that we've gotten to work with, guys that it feels like, you've gotten to see them put in work over the off season and ultimately want to see it pay off in season. But outside of that, like watching specific games, paying attention. I mean, the big talk obviously was the torpedo bats, and my takeaway from afar was just I saw the scores of all those Yankees Brewer games. And
there were some serious runs put up.
Oh yeah,
there's some OPS out there that you hadn't seen in a long time. It's pretty good games.
Yeah. So as far as what the impact is of these torpedo bats on, we'll say, pitchers, I think early, my general understanding of it is, and I think Joel Condrey put something out the other day of just, with the change of like where the barrel is, right? It's favoring something a little bit more closer to towards the handle.
Yeah. So just to touch on that before you get into it, like, do we know like exactly like where are they just like manipulating where the center of mass is? I know Lambert kind of went into it a little bit and went into the depth of it, but just so I guess in case anybody doesn't know, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just like they're moving the barrel to more of like the handle or moving it down the barrel, and it's just kind of shifting that. Completely legal, by the way. There is nothing illegal with the bats. It is approved by the MLB. But yeah, that's pretty much all they're changing, right? And it's not really all that different from like the pucks that guy's been using, or like McNeil, for example, doesn't use like the edge of his bat is not even finished.
That's what the hitters want you to think.
That's what
that's what big hitting wants you to think.
Big hitting. That's good. We got to
big hitting, big bat speed, big launch angle is selling this propaganda that this is legal. But
until we get that on the Studio Ghibli of like the WW or the World War II posters of like torpedo bats. This is what the U.S. Army is using in the war.
I knew someone that used a torpedo bat. He died.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't use those damn torpedo bats. You don't know what they're gonna do for you.
It's gonna replace DARE programs.
So yeah, like go into like I think one of the big things that I'm questioning now that we've kind of like given a little bit of a definition and background to it, if anybody has missed that. how does that kind of like the way my brain works is like, okay, if I'm a pitcher and I'm a guy, I'm a reliever, I'm coming in the seventh inning, I know I got a lefty coming up, I get the scouting report, they go, hey, we're going cutters underneath them hands. I throw one in there, but I notice the guy's walking up with a torpedo bat and that sucker's got the barrel towards the handle. I mean, the chance of that cutter getting hit is a lot higher, in my opinion, right?
Yeah. Guys were probably trying to jam Jazz.
Yeah.
uh,
Didn't work out too
did
hot.
not work out. No, I mean, I think um, it makes our lives harder as
For sure.
as a pitching trainer because
Agree.
we've been able to just say, hey, throw that cutter up and in, opposite-handed hitter, bail yourself out of a 3-1 count, generate some weak contact. But now all of a sudden, I think what we'll see happen is guys with that, not that it's specifically the torpedo bat, but also just that general miss,
Sure. Okay.
with that being essentially where they hit most, make the most contact. All of a sudden, what might have been a jam shot and a pop-up or, weak ground ball now has the ability to get hit harder, potentially further in the air.
For sure.
So definitely something that I think as time goes on, we'll want to see what ends up truly happening. This is just like just a hypothesis at this point. But would imagine that there might be some sort of element, whether it's to scouting or just knowing that hey, the ability to use some pitch that you're trying to get in on the hands to an opposite-handed hitter, maybe not the greatest idea anymore.
For sure. I definitely think it makes Arsenal and the way guys are going to approach different hitters, it's going to take a little bit of that intuition out of it a little bit. Like you can't just throw sinkers into righties. You can't just throw cutters into lefties anymore. All things considered, you're a right-handed pitcher going against those handed hitters. But I think it'll make guys. I really wonder how guys are going to start looking at that. If they're going to start being like, okay, he's using a more handle loaded bat or a more barrel loaded one that has it shifted over, and seeing if guys end up picking up on that and then going oh, typically I would have gone cutter here, but now I'm going to go sinker, which typically you wouldn't do to a left-handed hitter, right? But because of that bat, now you're thinking about that. Does that mess with a pitcher's ability to kind of feel comfortable up there? Is he starting to think about other things? I think it's a really interesting thing, and it's really funny because pitching is always not to give the shit on the hitters all too much, and I think our hitting trainers do great. It's always pitching's always kind of been they're trying to run us down. We always end up getting pitch design first. We get all the really cool tech. We get all the really cool up and coming things of velocity, and then all of a sudden hitting kind of is wait for us. We want to be a part of the fun stuff. And so I think this is going to be one of those things that now they kind of even the playing field a little bit. Could be really interesting. The other thing I wanted to think about, and maybe I don't know if this will really be a thing with it, but how can you change the bat that you're currently using not just in that bat, but throughout a game? Or do you have to delineate, say I am using the barrel.
3-1 count. Yeah. I sense a cutter on my hands.
In the count, not in the count. I'm talking okay.
For the pitcher.
The starter is okay, he's a very four-seam heavy guy. I know that I typically miss towards the handle. I'm going to use the handle loaded one. Now that they have a lefty that's throwing a sinker, I'm a right-handed pitcher or a right-handed hitter. I'm going to end up going to more of a barrel loaded one. Are you excuse me, sir, I am now changing the bat, or are you just hey, I'm good to go? I wonder if that'll be legal. I don't know. I can't imagine it's a problem.
Not mid at bat though. Just
no.
mid game.
I mean, mid at bat would be heinous.
No, yeah,
It would be get him out of here, right? There's no way. But I do think
not our sacred game. Yeah. No.
The sweet American tradition. That's our pastime.
Is anything sacred anymore?
I know. They're just throwing this shit around, and next thing you know, we're gonna have weighted balls flying around. It's gonna be a zoo out there.
No, so, I was gonna say we could phone in a friend, hit up Ait, Stokey, Boyer, have them chime in, and then give them the only thing that's missing is a name on this podcast, because then if you phone them in, you got to legally say live to record on Desert Dogs or whatever.
That one's going to stick, I think. I don't know. We'll see.
Whatever the hell this thing gets called.
Well, I do think that Lambert and maybe Stokey will be commenting on that, and they'll have a much better in-depth breakdown. So if you do have questions or you're looking at that and you're really interested in that, I think we'll be putting that out. So be looking on our socials for that one. So should be a really good read. Lambert obviously puts out some pretty crazy cool stuff as always, and then our hitting guys always giving us some really good insight as well.
Let me add, as far as hitters have been evolving, which is one thing. There was someone a year or two ago. A pitcher that had said they had noticed on Driveline social media that a veteran was coming in to work,
Yeah.
a veteran hitter was coming in to Driveline to train, and he saw that and he goes, damn, I was really hoping he would pack it in. Like, I was really hoping that guy like has had a
Finally got
great
rid of him.
career, just pack it in, I'm good enough, and then all of a sudden starts training bat speed, Oh man.
That's just like the dark moment, like you just sit there and you're like, God damn it, he's back.
Yeah, these guys are evolving.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's it. I think it's actually a really cool thing. It's kind of like the trajectory thing that we have. I think it's a really cool way of training, and I applaud the people. I think it was a guy with the Yankees at the time, the MIT physicist. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like, cool concept, really cool idea. So that was one of the opening day things. The other thing, both of us homies being from San Diego, how about them pods?
Yeah,
Fucking A. Let's
they're
go.
good.
They're good. I was really paying attention to this. I saw an article the other day from AJ Cassavell. I thought it was really cool. Interesting stat. In 2020, there were 25 or 26 pitchers that had debuted in the MLB. This was the COVID year, so it was shortened. A little interesting. You had the taxi squad. You had a bunch of things that were a lot different. They had 25 or 26 guys debut. Kyle Hart was one of them. He ended up throwing for the first time in the MLB the other day and got the win. Had made some pretty significant changes. I think that was really interesting. He dropped his slide. I think it went from like a 6.2 release height to about a 5.6. IVB on the heaters up. There's a lot of other things. I think he was dealing with some like personal health issues or something else going on. So it was great to see him go out there as a Padre fan, but also as a person. I think it's really awesome to see him go out there and like have success, make some changes, going over to like the NPB. I think it was I think he went to the KBO, right? Goes to the KBO, makes those changes, bought into it, and now going into an organization obviously led by Ruben Niebla, and their pitching development's been awesome. But one thing I wanted to talk about on that, and a question for you, would be one of the things that stood out to me was like his sweeper and his four seam are significant. Like the sweeper is a completely new pitch, and the four seam now is having a lot more. So it doesn't have as much carry. However, from the release height, it has significantly more carry based off the expected movement. I feel like this is a very common question we get. How do I get that IVB? How do I get that spin rate up? How do I start throwing that shit well, right? How would you suggest guys go about that? When you look at a guy like that, what are some things that kind of come to mind as like, hey, how do I get my IVB up? Does it matter? Is that something that guys should be chasing, or is that just like you kind of got it or you don't?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where over the years you've also noticed where there was this thought process that it's like you just have one fastball. Like you're either a sinker guy, you either throw a sinker or you throw a four seam. Like, your four seam's dead zone. It doesn't, have any value.
Throw something else.
Yeah, just do not eliminate that pitch. And then now we're gonna say you're the old mix and match.
Oh yeah.
All these guys, and you're just seeing, especially with platoon splits, there is value in having different fastball variations.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think what you'll see is like, now I think guys are starting to grasp that concept that like, okay, my 15 vert fastball, four seam fastball is not necessarily dead zone if I'm throwing from a 5.4 release height or something along those lines. So I think that's one way we're seeing things shift as far as training it or the things that impact it. It's going to require looking at some efficiency and the release tilt. There's a couple of guys that do it very differently, like in terms of how they carry the ball from that slot.
Okay.
How about we give a pro tip to the youngins out there? One thing we'll put them onto some free game. One thing that we've been playing around with, and this is by no means super proven. This is a little bit of a hypothesis here and there.
Anecdotal, and that's okay.
Little anecdotal hypothesis in the Arizona gym. But one thing I've noticed with guys is them throwing either that oversized, 5-ounce ball. Mm-hmm. I know a few pro guys that have enjoyed throwing that or have like implemented that in their long toss or their catch play. And just to be able to get that enhanced feedback with that ball. And then I've been banging on the table a little bit. If I were to go big brain and say like there is one tool that we have here at Driveline that
wait, are you telling me there's a thing?
There's
a thing? Oh my God, please.
Sound the alarm.
Please. By all means, enlighten us. I need to hear this. My IVB sucks.
Yeah. Last year was year of the drop step. This year it's year of the smash factor softballs.
Dude, I love that you're bringing this up. This is great.
So I've been really intrigued. Bryce Kreider's put out a lot of really good stuff about changing the implement, the
Phenomenal.
throwing implement, utilizing that in training. And one tool that I just don't know. I've seen guys throw golf balls. As far as like undersized, underload. Guys have thrown softballs. A lot of the Latin guys love.
And I feel like they've been around for a pretty long time, and it's not like they just like burst onto the scene, but they just like don't get enough love, in my opinion. Like they just don't get like, they're just throwing it to like a warm up. No, there's actually a purpose. So I like that. This is a good thing. I like that you've been throwing them more.
Or encouraging guys to throw them. I think that's the biggest thing is like how. So I don't want this to get clipped and turn into the, Dylan Gargas guarantees that you gain 3 inches of carry by throwing underload smash factor softball.
Potentially we can have Colin put a little disclaimer at the bottom like, hey, pause, you're about to watch something. It is not guaranteed to get you 3 miles an hour or your efficiency up or anything else like that.
But as far as just enhanced ball flight feedback, the Driveline Smash Factor Softball
phenomenal product.
Is actually a really cool tool that I never thought in a million years that, I saw them sitting around the facility. I think some prototypes came in. And then I've always been a fan of guys, mixing in softball into their catch play, a softball, just for some enhanced ball flight feedback if they're playing long toss. And then all of a sudden, you start yassing the softball, the Smash Factor softball.
Yeah.
We'll get it right. A little light flight. You throw that thing from, let's just say, in terms of implementing it, play a long toss, stretch it out, use whatever implements you want in your long toss, get some ball flight feedback.
For sure.
And then as far as mixing in that Johnny.
Right at the end, would you recommend doing that at the end or at the beginning of your catch play? Maybe when you're bringing it in after getting it out to your max distance for that day?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
On the way in from that max distance, what I think is really helpful is that ball will take off, that smash factor ball.
Yes.
That smash factor softball.
Very important that it's the light flight ball here, because if you're throwing the regular softball, that thing, I don't know what the weight of it is, but it is not the same weight as the light flight ball. So very important.
It's like, I think a normal softball is about 6 ounces, but that light flight ball, that smash factor ball, let me get it right, the trademark, that thing will, if you clip it wrong, it'll just take off arm side on you, like especially from if you stretch it out 300 feet and then you start doing some compression throws on the way in. It just gives you such enhanced feedback as far as like, I think trainees really like, the binary, like good, bad. So many trainees love turning to their trainer and treating them like a guru and asking like, did I do it? Was that good?
Yeah.
And it's like, motherfucker, look at the radar gun. That ball, you threw that ball 5 miles per hour harder. Do not look at me again.
W. If you throw it slower, L. If you throw it slower or it ends up flying out of your hand, I think we talk about this one all the time. The old fadeaway, the old Dirk Nowitzki from the elbow. You're not trying to fade away that softball. You're trying to put it clean as you can to be as efficient and it almost looks like an airplane when you throw it right. It kind of like takes off on you and kind of gets back up again.
The pond skipper.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. I know we've been working that in. I actually think I brought that up with in a podcast with Tyler a couple weeks back, and I thought that was a really cool thing that you had been implementing, because I think there was like a random week you just like flicked me, you're like, throw this fucking thing. And I was like, why? And then you're like, just throw it. And I threw it like shit. And I was like, kind of irritated me. And I feel like as athletes, like that's kind of a good thing. Like you should be feeding the problems. You shouldn't just be like going into catch play every day and just doing the same old catch play. I'm just out here doing my thing. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a recovery day. No, I mean, that's really one of the things that like really separates guys that are going to get a lot better is like every single day you can probably work on something. I know you can, unless you're a guy, even the guys at the highest level are still working on stuff. So I think being able to have something like that to just like keep that feedback loop tight is really, really cool, and is a really cool and easy. Really, 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 really easy, right? Like, did you throw it well? Did it come out spinning right or not?
Are you winning, son?
Yeah, basically. Like, and if you didn't, you just, all right, I got to figure it out a little bit.
Yeah, like they're ideally, like as a trainer, right? You toss someone the ball, you say, throw this.
Yeah.
And then you tell them to just figure it out.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be over cueing and like guiding someone into clipping it right or getting the appropriate spin. It's just a matter of, making some changes and adapting, on a throw to throw basis. And like once a guy gets it, you kind of like see that light go off of like, oh, that was sick.
Yeah. And they're like, damn. And then they kind of get addicted to it. They're like, yeah, let me throw that thing again and again. And all of a sudden it's like not a staple, but it is something that they reference, maybe during a time when they're struggling or the pitches aren't really like moving the way that they really want them to. So no, I completely agree with that. What do you got?
We got carried away with that. That shows the excitement of. I think let's just discuss this real quick, because one thing, as I don't know if this has really been talked about way too much. That, once again, first episode of this podcast.
Oh yeah, inaugural.
So you are the host. I am just your guest today. But you and I both trained at Driveline.
Yes.
Back in, you were a trainee back in like 2018.
I believe I started in January of 2016. I had just turned 18. Nice. And I took a red shirt year because I was ass. I was terrible at the game. I threw 77, and I actually, fun fact, I almost went to a different facility. My dad was the one that convinced me to come to Driveline. Was like, this place seems pretty cool. You should go check it out. First day, got snowed in. Didn't get to do my mocap. Ended up making it in though. It was a great time.
I can only imagine the help scheduling channel just going crazy in 2016.
Where's this guy? Where did he go? He's a no-show.
Ban. I started in 2019. So actually, my freshman year of college, I had gone to St. Mary's as a recruited walk-on, if that.
And we could go with that one.
Was on the team for the fall. Was incredibly yipped up. I was already throwing slow to begin with. It was, odds were stacked against me. Throwing 82 miles per hour as a freshman in college, and the hope was, hey, just do some, jigger bands and long toss, and like you'll start throwing harder. And here I was trying to, get a spot on a team that had Tony Gonsolin and Corbin Burns on it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. That's an elite two right there to go to college with.
Gonsolin would come out. He would play right field and then close out games.
Wow.
So I was there for the fall, got cut, and then went home. And my introduction to Driveline was doing just it was 8-week velocity program. Yeah. I was down and out. Like, I was ready to quit playing baseball. And the high school pitching coach, or the pitching coach at my high school, Matt Malott, who now works for the Tigers as a hitting coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. He was like, hey, I wanted to test out this Driveline stuff with some of the pitchers here. Can you be my guinea pig? Like, if you still want to throw and play baseball? And I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot.
N equals 1. You got to start somewhere.
Oh, man. It was like, to actually train and throw and see progress for the first, because all that time I had just been told, you throw slow, you need to throw harder. Well, like, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah. How do I do that?
I wore like a wrist weight, like one of those like slided, like it was like a weighted sleeve when I threw. Okay. And it was just, like I'd do that, I'd play catch, and then like every now and then get a radar gun and 82 still. It's like, oh, thanks.
God, that's deflating. That's got to be painful. I feel like that's so hard to just like go get up and like do that, and like every time you go test, it's like, God damn, I didn't even get any better. What was the last 6 weeks about?
Yeah, so doing that free 8-week velocity program at the time, like, it was crazy. Throwing, pulling down 11-ounce balls. There was no such thing as a recovery day, or at least like recovery effort with plyos and like pivot picks.
Come a long way.
But that definitely helped me. That basically got me back into playing baseball, like college baseball. Went to a junior college, pitched a little bit there. Ended up being, recruited walked onto the team at Penn State. Pitched 1 inning my senior year. And I was so down and out on baseball again, just like, I had been doing some Driveline, protocols from afar. But it was just always so intrigued with getting into the gym.
Oh yeah.
And just like watching the Driveline Live ABs videos. And it was one of those where it was like, I don't know if I have a future in baseball or playing, but like, I know for sure that I want to train at this place and find out if I am good enough and if I can make it. Here I am coaching.
Well, you can tell where the story went and how that worked out for us, because now we're both sitting here.
But I did go out to Driveline. So I graduated college, got a job selling tickets for the Padres, and then did that for 3 months. Packed my bags, went to Seattle, trained. Wonderful. COVID hit. Not that COVID derailed my training or anything, but went to Driveline, started throwing harder, hit 90 for the first time. Probably got up to like 92, did some throwing on my own after. But anyways, that was back in like the OG days.
Oh yeah.
Of just being in, what was it, 4-2?
Yeah, 2-4 and 4. Something like that.
2-4 and 4-2.
You had like the one training side, and it was like it had that little like lounge area up top, and there was the desk sometimes in there. And then on the other side was like the R&D lab that was like you didn't even get to go over there back then. Like now our lab is just like, hey, it's right here. You're just walking into like, I don't know, a $500,000 lab with all these cameras and like back then it was like, we got to settle the cameras up. You got to make sure that it's all calibrated. It was a much more difficult process. So it was really hard to even get over to the R&D side most of the time.
One of my favorite things about training at Driveline or at that point in time was that like this must be the place moment, like that first day in gym.
Oh yeah.
Where I just remember throwing my mocap, being right around 90 miles per hour, Rob Hill getting on the mic, just being like, throw 90.
The bullhorn?
The
You still have
bull,
the bullhorn?
yeah.
Oh, man.
And then I remember having like an hour to kill just to wait for like a PT assessment or something
Yeah.
along those lines with Terry Phillips.
T-Bone.
T-Bone. And I remember sitting around and just sitting at one of the desks in that little like makeshift office space and just seeing guys watching pitching mechanics, like slow-mo videos.
Yeah.
And just being like, oh fuck yeah. Like I'm at the place, I'm about to do the Driveline. And
Driveline.
And yeah, just like that environment. That's one thing that I think you and I are really passionate about is like the environment of being in gym and trying to ensure that this is a place that when guys come here, they're getting a ton of value out of. But as far as like the actual training results themselves, one of the biggest pieces is where the environment itself and yielding those results because you can be bought into a plan and have a really tailored program, but if you're doing it in an empty garage or there's just like no camaraderie or whatever, there's just all these factors that can impact the output. And so I think that's one thing that at least in this facility specifically, like we pride ourselves a little bit more on, especially given like the size constraints and some other things here in Arizona.
For sure.
I think that we definitely tried to lean into the desert dogman. No,
I'm
not going to beat that.
Though. I mean, it does. I mean, that was something that was really big for me too. Was like when I first got there, like I'd never moved away from home before, and I ended up living with a couple of trainers, and it was kind of difficult for me because I didn't even know how to like basically cook anything for myself. It was my first time, and it was just like, damn, I don't even know what the hell is going on. So I actually had two stints. I came in 2016, and I was a shitty trainee. I was an issue athlete for sure. Never showed up on time. Thank God I got my act right. I had two trainers that really took care of me, and Rob Hill and Eric Jagers really helped me change my perspective of things and like just to train hard. But I also think amidst that was just like having other people that were also trying to do the same crazy shit that I was and like rooting for each other and being able to say like, man, that guy actually really cares about me. Like that guy, even though he's throwing, I remember pulling down, one of my good friends was Carson Lindell. He was a minor league guy with, I can't remember what team it was, Brewers, but like phenomenal guy. Was pulling down like 100. I could barely pull down like 84, 85. And this dude was losing his mind for me. Like there's just not a lot of other places that like you come in and it already feels like home. I really do think that's something that we try and do here because we were in those times, and it's so important to feel like, hey, even though if you're coming from Missouri, New York, we have guys from all over that are in gym right now. When you come in here, it's like, dude, if you're gonna work your ass off, you're gonna try really hard, and you're willing to buy into all this stuff, you're going to have a bunch of like-minded people that are going to want to do that with you and be a part of that journey. Whatever you want to get out of baseball, like there's going to be plenty of people that want to be there and support you through that. And I think we do a fucking great job of that here. We have so many passionate trainers. So really, really cool little tidbit there. Almost like a reminiscing of the golden years.
Well, I think
we're like those old guys on the porch, like swinging, just like
back in my day when we were training, pulling down 11-ounce balls.
People forget you used to velo the green ball in a roll-in. You used to do the black ball. That crap was heavy as hell.
I may have a few athletes right now that are listening to this and are like, I did that this offseason.
So we need to get back to it.
No black ball pull downs or anything like that. But I think probably some green ball roll-ins every now and then. Green ball. I'm a big fan of ripping some pivot picks because it's just such a pure throw.
Very true.
But I'm looking at this clock.
Yeah, we're at 30. Let's grab Colin, and then I want to ask you that one more question about the intern thingy, and then we'll be good.
Cool.
So this came up after the intermission. So you go to the stadium, you go in, you have to get something. I have to get a bratwurst. I'm going bratwurst, mustard, onions. If they have sauerkraut, God bless them. I would absolutely put a slab of that on there. What are you putting on your stadium dog? I swear, if you say chili or something, I'm throwing you out. You're not coming back.
Hand up. Haven't had a stadium dog in a while.
Okay, well, what do you get when you go to a game?
So
you gotta get something, right?
Us San Diego boys are pretty spoiled because Petco Park is full of very good dining options.
Oh,
Phil's Barbecue,
dude. Yes.
Shoot.
Those
And
tri-tip nachos they have. Have you been back since they've added those?
they've got the Cardiff Sea Market.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, you know how
If you
you
want
go
to
to
get
like the games and it's like $25 and they give you a sandwich that you could get at 7-Eleven and it pops open. Like that thing is like it's a hoss. That's a hog of a sandwich.
Yeah, they've got so many good options in that stadium that I feel very spoiled. And I can't remember last time I was just like at a ball game and just was like, yeah, let me get a dog.
Get a dog.
But if I were to get a dog, I'm kind of a sucker for just throwing a little bit of everything on.
Just like a little. Would you put relish?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like if I saw relish, I'd be like, yeah, why not?
Why
Like
not?
let's just,
Okay.
just put all the flavors.
People get whacked out by the onions. Are you like some people are either really in on onions on their hot dog or they're just like don't even come close to me with that shit because it's so bad.
I could see why people would be afraid of, like a stadium onion or something that's been like sitting
out maybe.
But, you get a couple cutwaters in your system.
You're hitting the dude. I can tell you from experience. You go up into that girlfriend's dad or her dad has season tickets to this thing. I can't remember what the name of it is. The cutwaters are $4 or $5 up there before the game.
Oh yeah.
Holy! Nobody had told me that they were 9% alcohol, and I'm not a big drinker. I had 3 of them bad boys, and I was loose. Let me tell you, I felt like I could have pitched the 7th with my elbow at that point. Yeah. I felt great. The cutwaters, they'll get you, and it's not even to mention the margarita ones are the vodka mule ones. I think they're like 9%, 8%, right?
Margarita one's 12.5%.
Oh my God, they're like 13%. They're like a time bomb. It's like if you have 3 of them, like you're not making the game, man.
Yeah, you have 2 of those, you reach a cruising altitude, and then you nurse. This is coming from
one.
this. So what I'll say here is because this is obviously a training facility, and it's one thing in a we'll say working with high level athletes. And then having been someone that played baseball.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but like when I was on the field or like when I was a kid watching baseball games, like you were locked in. You were locked in. And then when you were on the field, you thought if you're pitching in a stadium full of 40,000 people, you would just assume that they are as locked in as you are when you're a 10-year-old watching the game.
Oh, yeah.
Or when you're, just a player on the field. Turns out 50+% of the stadium is just there to socialize until the playoffs.
Really?
Oh,
that's interesting.
Think about when you go to a game as a casual fan. Like when you I don't know if you have friends that just love going to Padres games, but when you ask what they love about going to the game, they're not keeping score.
That's true.
There's a portion of fans that are locked in and they're on Twitter and they will let you know if you had a good outing or a bad outing.
There are.
They live and die by the team's success. But then a majority of people that go to baseball games, they love the social element. And I know this because when I was selling tickets with the Padres and hopping on those phone lines.
Oh, big experience guy here. Here we go.
That was one of the selling points was like, hey, this is at a time when the Padres were, this is 2019. So this is before the Brown.
Yeah. Before or after the Manny.
It was after Manny, and it was Tatis's first year.
Ish time. Okay.
But the results on the field were mixed. I think it was about like a 500 season.
Back in the day, we were happy with.
Yeah.
Tell you.
But at that point in time, in terms of selling tickets or trying to get people to come to the stadium, one of the big, selling points was, hey, Petco Park, largest bar in all San Diego.
Really?
Yes.
That was one of the.
Yes.
Check it out.
I would hear the conversations. Imagine just this war room of phone calls, right?
Awesome.
And I was known, as you guys can probably tell, I can yap. And I had some long phone calls. I was like, in terms of time on the phone, I crushed it.
That's awesome.
But my actual sales rate, not that great. Closing, yeah. But some of the conversations that you'd hear were just so funny because, I'd hear my coworkers like, how do you like go, when you go to a game, what's your favorite drink? Oh, after the game, where do you go? Just trying to sell selling the environment.
That's right.
And that brings us back.
Back to training in Arizona.
What I was going to say, because I went off on that tangent earlier before we ran out of time. But the whole point of talking about the OG, like our experience as a trainee, is one thing that I think has shifted as far as like public perception of Driveline or like some of the like misconceptions that you hear from incoming athletes is like, you just go here and you do the drills or like, okay, I'm coming to get the mocap and then what? Like they don't, but So for the longest time, Driveline was the place where like if you had a question, like if with your career, you wanted to get that shit answered. And like
Yep.
Driveline was the place
Was the
to go
place.
and like fuck around and find out to some degree. So when we
Yeah.
talk about the smash factor softball
Yes.
and throwing that, like that's one of those, we'll say, early stages, like something that I would love to actually test
Oh, yeah.
and like see if it does, what are the true legitimate impacts versus us just like anecdotally being like, it is sick.
That's
Like I
fire,
love
bro.
watching that ball flight. Guys seem to like it. Trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. It's tight. You should get yourself one.
That's hilarious. No, I agree. I think that's something that, not to get too internal with what we've been working on at Driveline, but it seems like our Hefe, Kyle, really wants to get back to that and get back to like research and getting back to like, let's remind people we never went anywhere. We're still here. We know what we're doing, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. All right.
I can't help but laugh. I'm hearing the when you said we're still here, that gave me the Patrick Mahomes like I'm here.
I'm here. What is it? No, it's,
I'm here.
I'm here. The
Gosh.
Kermit.
Garsh.
I just feel like it kind of gets forgot. Like now the field of training has become a little bit more saturated. You have a lot more mom and pop shops that are like, it's just like the Bill and Bert's Velo shop down the street. And you know what? Respect to those people. I'm sure there's really awesome people out there. But let's not forget, we are the first place to have biomechanics. We are working on things that I truly believe will revolutionize baseball once again. And it always tends to be the dude at Drivelines at the top. And I think that just comes from the people. And again, getting back to that environment of like the people that are employed here and the people that work here and the people that train here genuinely want to leave no stone unturned. They really do care about, from us now that we've kind of transitioned into our retired life of not being athletes. Like I remember being an athlete and having Rob Hill, who was my trainer, living with me. Like, I mean, just totally revamping my entire life from what I ate to like the way I acted to just like helping me really not be a piece of shit, really, at the end of the day.
And he made you vertical.
Yeah, I mean, don't even get me going. That's a whole separate podcast. We could go on the vertical diet. Shout out to White Rhino, Stan Efferding. We could go all day on that one. But yeah, like that environment, we really like that dude cared about me, wanted to see me succeed, and I feel like now that's our job of like helping all those guys. We have so many gap year guys in here right now. We can do that.
I hope he's listening right now and hears this and goes, "Oh my god, he thought I cared about him."
I know.
Like, it was just a fucking.
I know. He's probably just like that fucking idiot.
I tricked him. I got him.
I slipped through the cracks. But yeah, I think the environment here, man, like it's just that's what Driveline's all about. That's what Driveline's all about. It's what's always kept me. I mean, I worked at other places, worked at other facilities. I've worked at, in the Atlantic League. I've been a pitching coach there. I've done all these different things. Something about Driveline keeps me coming back, and I have to firmly believe that it is the passion that the people have here, the passion that the athletes have, and just like overall, there's no place with more data and more answers to the questions that people have in the baseball world than here. So,
I want to sauce you up.
Go
real
ahead.
quick,
What you got?
because it does remind me, or this whole conversation makes me think of one of your current athletes. You have an indie ball guy.
Yeah, don't tell me his name. Let me see who I got him.
Indie ball guy went from 90 to 95 in 6 weeks.
Giveaway.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just think, and we can say his name,
Aaron Glickstein.
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate
Pokemon.
Yeah,
Glickstein.
I want to celebrate Aaron Glickstein because his story of to see this guy show up at the end of like towards the very end of the pro off season.
Yeah, it was late.
Yeah, and has played however many years of.
Yeah, I don't know his full story. I'd have to probably talk to him a little bit more about it. But I know that
You're
he
his trainer. How do you not?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I know
You just outed yourself.
I know. He's been in indie ball. He's been good in indie ball. Like he's had good numbers. He's had success. Like he's been a good pitcher. But continue. Definitely came in and made some improvements.
I remember him coming in that initial day, his initial mocap. I said, "Hey, what do you expect today?" And he's like, 88, 89, But he made it sound like that's kind of where he has always topped historically. And then sure enough, day one, he hits 90, and it's like, okay, cool. And you do see that from time to time.
Yeah.
Like some guys, they get in, they get into the facility, and they got all the feels going, and all of a sudden they hit like a little PR, maybe a little adrenaline, like from being in the building, as crazy as that sounds. I'm doing the mocap.
You're +1 right with when you walk through the door.
Yeah, but then I just kind of watched, from afar, like was involved with his training, out at the field, would see him throwing. And then, I noticed some gradual gains throughout as he's doing some like velo days. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. I remember he said 90 was a good number, and like 92, 90, that's okay. 93, like
Just
now we're
kept
talking.
going up.
And then he goes to mocap again.
Oh,
I want you to talk a little bit about his training or like some of the conversations that you guys
Sure.
had, because I think you did a really good job of keeping the focus very external.
Oh, yeah.
And like he was already a gifted thrower from what I
for
understand.
sure. Yeah.
And of course the weight room as well, the weight room side of things. They crushed it.
Oh, killed it.
But this is pitching specific right now.
Yeah, this is all about pitching. The HP guys, they get enough love. No, we love you guys. But yeah, no, I straight up told Aaron on the first day, man, after seeing the mocap, kind of walking him through his assessment, getting the mocap, getting the high performance data, getting on the force plates, all that good stuff. Basically just explaining to him, like, you know what, man, like I take the approach of just like, hey, I'm going to give you the guardrails here, and I'm going to let you kind of figure it out. The only two things that really mattered, because he came in, he's like, I kind of got good stuff. I can pitch. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys, doesn't hit a lot of guys. So I'm like, okay, great. He's a pitcher. Just want to throw harder. I was like, all right, your only two goals.
You came to the right place.
You definitely came to the right freaking place. Let me tell you. The only two goals that guy had were, one, you are going to focus on throwing the ball farther. You are going to focus on throwing the ball harder. That were his only two cues that I gave him throughout the whole 6-7 weeks that he did his velocity progression, and really didn't even get into a full velo phase.
So which drill?
No drills, L. No, drills are great. I think they're just like the way I like to tell guys is the drill is arbitrary. You're training a quality and a characteristic of a throw that you're trying to have transfer over when you get onto the mound. So I can't even remember. Like one of the couple of things that I kind of told him was like he had a big tendency to like kind of cross-body stride, which like really limited his hip-shoulder separation. He was just kind of like, man, it didn't look as suave as it possibly could have. Suave, right? And so I was like, okay, let's just keep it external. This is the really easy way of doing that. We were outside. We had the pro off season, so we had the field. I said, all right, we're gonna have your catch play partner line up instead of being in a straight line. I'm gonna have him line up 5 feet offset to the left. Okay, so if he's cross-body striding and then having to fight himself to get that ball over, it's a really uncomfortable throw. So having that was one of the things we used. I just had him doing long toss with like single leg hop throws, isolating that back leg, just really telling him like, hey, the ultimate goal on the days that you're supposed to is throw the living shit out of the ball. And honestly, at the end of the day, like you said, there was some pretty weird progressions to that. It was like, okay, you hit 94 on a pull down, a little shuffle throw, 96, 97, and then he hit.
Is that a misread?
I literally told
we're
you,
using a pocket radar, the TrackMan. Like
I thought I picked up a car. Because a 4-ounce ball came in at 102, and I was like, come on, man. Like, you didn't throw that shit 102. Sure shit. The next week, I came back out. I was like, he was sitting 101 to 103 on those. I'm like, no way. Like, that's ridiculous, right? And then the following week, I'm like, okay, I'm bringing the radar gun this time. I'm bringing the gold standard Stalker Pro 2 out to that damn field. And this dude threw a 4-ounce ball 104 and threw a 5-ounce ball like 97, 98. I was just like, do you realize, like, and he's like, you know him. If you know him, very even keel guy. Very, very just like, but man, I'm happy. I'm happy.
I'm happy. Yeah, no, it's going well.
Yeah, it's going really good. And that's just his personality, man. He put his head down and he just did the work. And it was a lot of fun just to like see him not be so like domed up and like, what's this thing that's going to fix me? It's like, nothing. You're just going to get better at the skill of throwing. And you're going to keep it as simple as that. I like to say, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Because as soon as you start getting up there and you're starting to think shit, like you're not going to focus on the task, which is like, again, throw the ball harder. That's it.
And I've seen so many clips, especially recently, of other training facilities, programs, whatever the mom and pop shops, right? And it's like a lot of the athlete success stories. If you were to just boil it down to one thing, they train hard. Like they trained hard. So many guys want the like red pill.
Just bang, hit me.
Yeah, like which drill? Which drill? Or like, do you see something, coach, or what? It's like I can tell you a lot of different things, but like there is just you got to train hard, and like I'm gonna guide you, and give you the tools for success. But at the same time, like it is your own training journey. But to get back on now, when he ended up mocapping at the end of the 6 weeks.
Oh man, it was awesome.
His retest. You had a little work from home day.
Yeah.
As his trainer. One of the best things about working here at Driveline is when you have an athlete that is like retesting. I have always enjoyed watching those guys retest because you feel you want to see them win. Are you winning, son?
You really like mocap with them. Like, I wear it on them. When like my guy doesn't throw well in a mocap, I'm like, what did I do? What did I do as a trainer? Like, what would we have done better? Like, what was it? Right?
I was once that guy where I had a bad mocap, and it's like, yeah, you feel like you lost for your trainer.
Yeah.
I remember telling Sammy Lizarraga, like, I get back to the other building, he goes, how'd it go? And I go, down. But like, I think I had been coming off of my back was bugging me, something, but excuses.
Poor excuses. We don't want to hear those. Right?
Aaron's warming up that day, and I remember just saying, like, hey, you hit 90 that first time. Like, I've seen him up to like 93 at that point. I was like, what are you hoping for today? Like, what would be a win? And he goes, honestly, hit a 94 would be good. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping for a 5.
Damn.
And I think I just looked at him. I said, how old are you?
What are the realistic expectations are we doing here?
Sometimes it's fun to be a motherfucker. And I decided, I was like, I'm going to be a motherfucker right now. And I told him, how old are you? And he said, I think he said he's 27, about to turn 28.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally just turned 28 the other day. You're not hitting 95. Like, I can tell you, 28 is not fun.
It's all downhill.
And sure enough, and as far as like realistic probability here, I had seen him hit 93 on a dirt mat, like
all
these factors.
Feeling great, and it's not coming off of 6 weeks of like velo training, and the weight room was such a priority. Yeah, I can imagine. Like, honestly, as his trainer, I was like 95. I was like, I really hope 95 is there, but I don't know.
I went back into my office to knock something out, and then I hear the music blaring and, some yells, some guttural noises. And I get my ass out on the training floor, and I catch the first real bullet. And it was like 93.8 or something, all right, we got the mocap run. Like, we're
cooking.
I'm like, holy shit, he might do it, 94. It's like, oh, my God, he's actually in striking distance of 95, and then hits it. I think I might have called it a misread. I said, you got to back that shit up.
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely have to.
I ran over, grabbed the bag of pearls that we had from the pro off season. Lucas Sims had donated one of his Rock of the Week.
Rock of the Week,
I think
baby.
from punching
Cash tickets, right?
Yeah, punching tickets.
Yeah.
And so it's this MLB ball, it says Rock of the Week, Sims, tickets. And I said, if you need to take this thing for a fucking ride. Like,
it's got the juice.
It's got the juice. Toss it to him. Hits 95 with it. He gets to keep it. I put it in a fucking frame because that was just one of the coolest moments of like, I'd never in a million years thought that guy that showed up saying like, okay, I throw it about 88, 89 most days and then hits 90. And it's like, okay, sick. Nice first day in gym.
Yeah, cool.
And then just to like, see his training from afar, and you and I had spoken about it. I knew things were going well, and I'd seen like some good velo days, some good high intent days, but you see guys have success on a compression throw, pull down, whatever it is, and then they get to the mound, they start overthinking, or something gets in the way, and to then see that big of a jump for someone that it's not like he's a freshman in high school where he's just as raw as can be.
You weren't expecting a lot of like newbie gains technically, or somebody that hadn't really trained. He'd been training for quite some time, so. No, I completely agree. To see 95 out of him was, I remember getting the call. I think one of you guys called me.
Probably FaceTimed,
just like, lit me up. Your ass is at home. You're missing the fucking show. Like all that. And I was like, that is great as somebody that works here. Like, I have 3 other absolute nutcases like I am that are going to take care of Aaron, and they're going to make sure that the environment's great for that guy, because as much as I like him, like I know everybody else cares about him, wants to see him, succeed and throw the ball hard as well. So it just speaks again. We do that thing around here. People get better and people enjoy it. And we're all rooting for each other. It's a damn good time. So if you are, this is my last question for you. I know you're a man
I'm trying to look at the clock. How we doing?
What do you got?
I don't know. I can't.
Yeah. Let's see what we got on here before we get out of here.
All right, we're good.
Oh, we're good. Okay. Okay, cool. So obviously we're hiring some interns. Everybody at Driveline interns, right? There's a very good reason for it. Even though I had worked at Driveline in the past, helped out with the Youth Academy, can definitely say you need to intern. There's so many systems, there's so many things that you get that you just don't even know that we have. When I walked in, I was like, I needed the time. It was a lot. What are some things, now that we're going through that and there's people applying, we have a lot of applicants, what really puts a guy to the top of your list? You're going through those things, and are you looking at keywords? Are you looking for any type of experience? Or are you just looking for, a guy that like just as a good dude? Like what's something that like makes a guy go to the top of your list, basically?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's like a lot of different factors here at play, and I think everyone weights them a little bit differently.
Okay.
I'd say, just from like the experience of having, been a part of the hiring process for some of you guys that are currently in gym.
Yeah.
I'd say like actual coaching experience, like to have put in some sweat equity.
Okay.
I know that that's something that I'm personally, I like seeing, especially knowing that I was someone that trained in the facility, and like there's a lot of guys that train here and then they're just like, oh, can I work at Driveline? Like I'm done playing baseball now. Can I work here?
Like they think they know the systems because they've just been around, but in reality, it's like there's a lot more to it than you think.
Yeah, and I think there is, especially in coaching baseball, you have to get your teeth kicked in. There is some value in eating shit at like the lower level. So in my case, I finished playing and then went home to San Diego, helped at a facility with a couple friends, and coached high school baseball. It was not glamorous by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So you don't need to be like at this big time college or like running this crazy analytics thing. It's just like you're just talking about like get out in the field and like go coach your junior, JV high school baseball team. Go do the senior, the varsity team and just like get your feet wet and go see what it's like.
Because it shows that you care.
Yeah.
I think just from like a perspective standpoint, what you see with a lot of the guys that have some skin in the game and that sweat equity, they get into this building and it's like endless possibilities. Like just so excited to be here because I know, speaking personally, I was very, doing remote training or private lessons or whatever you want to call it back home. I had a radar gun and, just like limited tools. And at a certain point that just kind of runs out, it's like I was just scratching my head with certain guys. I didn't have a mocap lab.
Yeah.
Not that everyone needs to have a mocap in order to like know what's going on, but at a certain point, you work with someone for multiple months. It'd be nice to actually know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, like my eye. What is it? I tell every parent that comes in here, it's like my eye only works at 60 frames a second. If I'm lucky, after having a couple of shots of espresso, these cameras are working in 360, 120 frames a second. You have. I think our mocap lab has like 9, 10 of them. So like, good luck competing with that with your naked eye. You're never gonna catch it.
Like just analyzing video and being like, hey bro, you're opening a foot plant. Like,
for real. Like, is it enough? Do I need more? So so getting into the field, just having like the term I like to use, and I think it's pretty common, is you got to take a bite out of the shit sandwich a little bit. It kind of sucks in the moment. It's almost like putting a little bit of lemon juice in a cut, and it kind of sucks at first, but like sooner or later that cut heals and you start to learn from that stuff. So getting out into the field, is there anything else that you're like, man, like highly recommend like looking into something or something that like puts a guy that you're like, that guy?
No, I mean there's like definitely some hard skills that are attractive where it's like you find out that guys have coding experience or something, things that I'm incapable of doing. Yeah. And it's like I admire that. And I just know that, you get in this building, work at Driveline with those skills, and it's just like endless possibilities.
I feel like it just makes like even working with the tools even that much easier because you're just like, wow, like we have an entire team that's just like of R&D, like and being able to like just speak their language is so important. And looking at the coding and like there are so many things I wish I could do. Logan Niss, who's our one of our biomechanists here, like he's been telling me to get into that, and it's like, damn, Logan, like it's hard. Like that stuff's really hard. Some people go to school for 4 years to be a computer scientist or a coder, whatever it is. But I probably should. But it is one of those things that like, damn, like if I already had that background, I just have to imagine like just being able to like pull from wherever I want to within the company would be so much easier. So getting a little bit background in coding definitely could be really useful. I think something that I look for, and Anthony, he just put out that tweet. I think being able to speak Spanish
bilingual
is huge because I can't tell you how many, like we have some pro athletes that are in here that don't speak English. They feel more comfortable either in Spanish or they don't speak English and they only use Spanish.
Or in other cases they speak, Korean, Japanese. Like there is something to being bilingual and then also having that experience of like knowing what it's like for this not to be my first language and to be around it. And we'll highlight Anthony in terms of, using Google Translate, things like that to communicate with athletes, and like the patience that was shown in some of those instances. It's like, I don't know that I would have ever thought, like seen that as something very scalable.
Oh yeah.
And so really impressive. And so that's why being bilingual We'll say Spanish specifically, especially with there being so many Latin players.
But we do see a lot of NPB. I mean, we had an entire group from Taiwan come in. We had guys from the NPB, the KBO, all types of from all over the place. Just guys that like, you know, the need to throw a 95-mile-an-hour heater is everywhere. It's hot. It's cool. Nobody wants to throw 88. That shit's slow. It's a changeup nowadays.
Well, you want to throw a 95? Have you heard of the Smash Factor?
And
softball?
That's how we sell Smash Factor softballs right there. I can't wait till after this. We're gonna get a DM from Mike or Kyle and just be like, "Is there a reason 500%?
3/5 commish, bro."
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what we need. Add that shit on. So awesome, man. So like just to wrap up that intern, if you are applying and you're looking to intern or you're looking for a job in baseball, heard it here first from our coordinator Dylan Gargas. Get some sweat equity out there. Get your feet wet. Go out there, try. One of the biggest things is just like effort. Go out there and just try.
Work with athletes, get those reps.
People, the feel of like, you know, when do I approach this athlete? How do I kind of tackle this different? The only way you're going to learn how to do that is just by going and doing it. And you're probably going to mess it up quite a bit, and that's totally fine. And you're going to learn from that. But the only way you're going to do that is by doing it. If you're sitting on the sidelines, like, you know, hoping somebody will just tell you, like, good luck, we'll probably never see you in here. But go out there and be okay. I think this is one of the cool things that Kyle told me or said in a meeting was like, leave some room to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. You just got to learn from it. If you're wrong consistently, shame on you. But if you're wrong one time and you learn from it, then like, good. It means you're growing as a coach. Being bilingual is also a huge thing. And then obviously just like, I think a care factor. I think that's one of the last one I'll put in there, if I may, even though I'm not in that. I'm not in.
No. This is exactly that. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. I think that, like, you know, if you're going to mesh in here with all of us, you know, if you're going to be accepted into our tribe, and
Arizona, Florida, or Arizona, Florida, or Washington, all three
of us, it is one big Driveline family, one big tribe. I like to say it's like, you better be able to be a chameleon. You better be able to adapt to your environment. You better be able to get along with a lot of different people, and people that are going to be very passionate. They're going to have vibrant personalities. You're going to have people like me that you're like, dude, this guy cannot shut the hell up. This guy's always an Energizer bunny. Shout out caffeine. Thank you.
Starbucks.
You got any Starbucks? Bad. I'm a regular now. Don't tell Kelsey. But like those things are so helpful, and I think it makes working in an environment like this so much more enjoyable and just overall fun. So you got any closing thoughts? I'm gonna wrap it up here, but I mean, I will say I appreciate you hopping on the inaugural first Desert Dogs.
No,
I don't know.
We'll do an AI
comment.
Whatever the title's gonna be. We just need an AI version of like you being, let's just say it's like the Driveline Thunder Nuggies podcast.
That's right. Something. I don't know. Maybe if we put this to YouTube, maybe we can put it out there, and like the top comment with the most likes can be like name the show or something. As long as it's not something egregious, you frickin' people. Don't put anything crazy out there.
All the sickos out there.
Yeah, I don't need anything crazy out there. But do you have any closing thoughts or anything that you'd like to say now that we're kind of wrapping up a little bit?
No, this was enjoyable. I don't know what you have on your schedule. Maybe on Acuity you got something that you're supposed to get to right
blocked
now.
Off. Probably.
But no, I mean, this was fun. I'll definitely want to come on.
Appreciate you coming on. Like I said, thank you again. You know, we'll have more guests. Hopefully, this will be a weekly thing on Wednesdays. Hopefully, we'll be able to record these and kind of get them out there. If this goes on YouTube, like it, subscribe to it. If you have any questions or things that you want us to get into, feel free, shoot them our way, drop them in the comments. Give us some ideas maybe for the name, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time. Gargas?
Ciao.
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 We're out.